Evening friend, study with the Pala Engineering and Journal Geology Parvin Singh book. So in chapter 12 so we already study about sedimentary rocks. So chemical structure अब हम पढ़ रहे हैं उसका 13 चैप्टर है परवीन सिंह में. Many sedimentary rock are formed due to chemical process and such as evaporations, precipitation and crystallization. These rock often show peculiar structure quite different from those found in clastic rock. A few types are described below in outlines. Concretionary structures. In these types, the sedimentary rock is made up of concretions of various shapes and dimensions. The individual concretions may be rounded or sub-rounded, rough and smooth, and quite small, like the edge of a fish or quite appreciable size, like that of a walnut, and so when large number of such concretions are cemented or compacted and together, the rock is said to show a concretionary structure. Bauxite is a typical example. The oolitics and piezolytics and structure piezolytic, but H not here, so isolytic I confuse how to pronounce here some. So piezolytic structures are also examples of concretionary structure differentiated on the basis of size of the concretions. Instead the oolitic structure, the concretions are of the size of fish egg. फिश के एग जैसा बिल्कुल 0.1 to 1.0 millimeter. The rocks appears as an assemblage of fish eggs, whereas actually it is a chemically formed sedimentary rocks. In the piezolytic structure, the individual size of concretions is like that of a peanut. And limestones and bauxites, so both these structures are nodular structure. Nodular का भी दिया वो example कि nodular का कैसा क्या है. This types of structure is seen in some limestones is differentiated by development of irregularly shaped nodules of chert and iron oxide, iron carbonates and clays, iron stones and sediments. These nodules show elongations and flattening parallel to the bedding planes, indicating their depositions away from their place of formations. Geode structure. A geode is actually a hollow cells of rocks, the interiors of which is lined with inwardly projecting crystals. Generally, the rock's cell is made up of chalcedonies, and the inners in incrustations are of quartz crystals. It is believed that this types of structures resulted from crystallization of quartz crystals or inner walls of an original cavity. Organic structures. Some structures develop in the sedimentary rocks due to the manners in which the organic source materials gets accumulated and compacted to form a rock. The fossiliferous structure and the stromatolitic structure may be described as the organic structure. The fossiliferous structure is due to the presence of fossils of a plant or animals' life in the rocks. Sedimentary rocks are known as the only source of fossils, and some rocks may be highly fossiliferous, whereas others may contain little or no fossils in them. The stromatolitic structure is produced by the presence of remains of algae, kinds of lower vegetations in the rock. So classification of sedimentary rocks, most important topic. Every topic is important, but classification define how every rock originate in how. Systematic. Sedimentary rock have been variously classified on the basis of their mineralogical composition, environment of deposition, mode of formation, and textural and structural features. For practical purpose, the classification systems combining नहीं जब आप शिव लेकर के छन्नी लेकर के छानते हैं उसका प्रैक्टिकल करते हैं, आपको शायद ध्यान जिन्होंने प्रैक्टिकल किए होंगे वो जानते होंगे. और जो अभी नहीं किए हैं वो जानेंगे उनका ग्रेन साइज देखने के लिए. क्लासिफिकेशन सिस्टम्स combining so most of the above features has been greatly favored and cells are only to be followed in this books. In this classifications, all the sedimentary rocks are grouped under two main divisions, the clastic and the non-clastic rock. This is done on the basis of their mode of formations. These groups are further subdivided on the basis of their grain size and composition and nature of the structure source material. Clastic rock. These are also called mechanically formed or detritus rocks and includes all those sedimentary rocks that have been formed from pre-existing rock by operations of four process: weathering and erosion, transport and deposition and diagenesis. So further classifications of the clastic rock is based on the average grain size and grade of the sediments, making the rocks following the fourfold terminology is widely followed by the sedimentologist for grading the clastic sediments. Gravels, grain size greater than 2.00 millimeters and sands 2 millimeter to 1 by 16 millimeter, silt 1 by 16 to 1 and 1 by 256 millimeter, clays less than 1 by 256 millimeters. So divided. So we calculate how the size of what is the size of sand. The gravels, sands and cells clays are further classified to lower limits of grain size in the following manner. Gravels, all sediments and clastic fragments of rock above the size of 2 millimeter irrespective of their composition and shapes are broadly termed as gravels, and however specific terms are used to name the gravels on the basis of their range of grain size in which they actually fall. Boulders, when grain size is bigger than 256 millimeter cobbles, and when grain size is between 256 to 16 millimeters, pebbles grain size lies between 16 to 2 millimeter. Sands, all sediments that lie within the size range of 2 millimeter and 1 by 16 millimeters are grouped as and sand. And petrologically the terms is generally used for CS sediments, and sand may be further divided into three subgroups on the basis of grain size as follows. Coarse sand size range between 2 millimeters and 1 by 2 millimeters. Medium sand size range between 1 by 2 millimeter to 1 by 4 millimeter. Fine sand size range between 1 by 4 to 1 by 16 millimeter. Silt, these are very fine size particles of varying composition lying in the range between 1 by 16 millimeter and 1 by 256 millimeter. They are further divided into coarse, mediums and fine silt. Although such as distinctions is generally not possible, so with the neck eye it is also not necessarily required for many practical applications. The silt are the major constituent of a rock known as a cell. Clays are also particles fine in size and thence 1 by 256 millimeter are commonly referred as a clay. They are materials formed in varieties of ways and abound in nature both as soils and rocks, as clay, stones, mudstone and cells. The above grade classification is shown diagrammatically as follows. Figure 13.5 this. So ये 256 millimeter size, 64 millimeter, 2 millimeters and 1 by 16. Please make practice करिएगा. 1 by 256 millimeters. तो अब साइज जैसे यहाँ घट रहा है, डिक्रीज हो रहा है, यहाँ बढ़ रहा है. तो अगर बहुत फाइन है, क्ले है, फिर क्ले से सिल्ट है, सिल्ट से सैंड है, सैंड से ग्रेवल्स है, तो बोल्डर, कबल्स एंड पेबल्स, कोर्स, मैड, फाइन, मीडियम मीन्स फाइन. सब डिविजन ऑफ क्लास्टिक रॉक. Based on the predominance of sediments of a particular grades, the clastic rocks are further subdivided into following three groups: rhyodites and pacifatites. These are also called reduceous rocks and includes all coarse grain rock of heterogeneous compositions. The average grain size of the constituent in rhyodites is greater than 2 millimeters, and rhyodites are made up of boulders, cobbles, and pebbles, and collectively is known as gravels. So these gravels are held together in the forms of rocks by a natural cementing materials, clay being the most common example. Breccia and conglomerates are important examples of rhyodites. Arenites and semites, these are also called arenaceous rocks. These are made up of sediments of sand grade 2 millimeter 1 by 16 millimeter. The sand grains may be held together in the rocks of forms either by cementations or by compactions under load from overlying sediments in a particular rock. The sand grains of particular size range may be predominating, giving rise to coarse, mediums, and fine arenites. And example sandstones, gravakis, and arkose, and are common types of arenites. Lutiles, pelites, these are also called argillaceous rocks, and lutites may be defined as the sedimentary rocks of the finest grain size. They are made up of particles of silt, clays, and grade less than 1 by 16 millimeter, which are invariably and packed together with varying degree of compaction. So these are amongst the softest of rocks, showing complex behaviors towards imposed loads when found in sites of constructions. Example, cell, clays, mudstone, siltstone. And it may be mentioned here that many a time a clastic rock may be made of sediments of more than one grade. It is the dominant grade that is taken into consideration while classifying the rocks. If the others grade sediment is also present in a significant proportion, say is more than 5%, it is also reflected by adopting a mixed nomenclature for the rocks, and for example argillaceous sandstone, arenaceous cells, and siliceous clays, and so on. Thank you. Please give response.